All right, what's up, DVW fam? So as you guys can see, we're back on the Viva Las Vegas Strip. Yo, all right, DVW fam, so welcome back to another video on the channel, and we're doing something a little bit different today. We're gonna give you guys a little, story time, some of our thoughts on why Las Vegas is so empty right now in the summer of 2025. I just got back from Vegas on a 12-day stint there, and I've been to, all areas of Vegas, from the Strip, the most crowded areas, to downtown, everywhere in between, and it just feels a little different right now, almost even eerie. It feels the emptiest I've seen it since 2020, and you guys know what happened that year. I don't have to go through why it was so empty then, but I've been going to Vegas for many years now, every year for as long as I can remember, from high, low to mid-season. And guys, I've never seen it like this. In this video, we're going to be talking about why this is happening, what's really going on behind the scenes, and whether or not you guys should still visit. We're going to be sharing with you guys my first-hand experiences, opinions, mixed with what I've heard from friends, families, locals, staff, everything in between, fellow travelers. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you guys some pros and cons, what you guys should do if Vegas is still worth visiting, and some tips if you guys are planning to hit the Strip. So one of the reasons is pretty obvious reason, which are the rising prices and the expensive costs of Las Vegas. But this is not a secret, it's been pretty expensive for a couple years now. But some of the things I've noticed on this recent trip is little sneaky fees, annoying fees, things that pop up here and there. Like for one, charging extra for bread service at a steakhouse, and some restaurants maybe even tacking on a extra 2 to 5% fee in the fine print of their receipts at restaurants. So little fees like that. Another fee, which if you guys are commuting from another state, which I don't think should be necessary if you guys are already a guest at a hotel, are the parking fees. Because if you guys are already staying there, I feel like parking should be included. In 2020, they made all parking free to all guests, and I think that should be the norm. Good thing I have a Caesars and MGM rewards card, so I get the free parking anyways if I'm staying in an MGM or Caesars resorts. But little fees like that, resorts fees, especially if you guys are staying in the winter time, you guys want to hit the pool. The pools are usually going to be closed, but the resorts fees don't really change. But also, one thing I've noticed, especially for my channel, because I like to cover a lot of food, is the dwindling cheap eats deals. There's a lot of cheap eats deals that I've known about for the past couple of years that either have gone away or adjusted their hours, pricing, availability. Like the Ellis Island, I actually went there last winter, and they actually still had the steak and eggs deal all day, every day, from a certain hour, from like 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. But they actually took it away, and they didn't have the deal at all. But I actually went 2 weeks ago, and they brought back the deal, but actually not on the weekend. So in the overall grand scheme of things, they basically took away the cheap eats deal for the weekend. So little deals like that are disappearing in Vegas, which a lot of tourists like to save a few dollars on their meals when they're on the Vegas Strip. And there's less and less cheap eats deals nowadays, so that can be tied into the rising costs, I guess, of food in Vegas. But make sure you guys stay tuned for our upcoming cheap eats updated video for the summer of 2025, because we're gonna show you guys all the updates for the cheap eats, the hours, times, little caveats for the cheap eats deals. We're gonna get a little bit political or economical, whatever you guys want to call it, but inflation, guys. So a lot of things have just been rising in prices, gas as well as food. So this isn't just unique to Vegas, but Vegas is just a luxury for most people. So it's just gonna be a little bit noticeable. Like all the buffets, from the Bacchanal, the Wynn, to the Wicked Spoon, the high-end buffets from 2020, they have raised the prices from about $5, $10 to some places even $15 from just a few years ago. So basically the prices, and this ties in to the next point as well, because Vegas used to be known for buffets, and that was one of the main draws for a lot of guests and tourists. But a lot of them are being replaced by food halls now. That's not a good or bad thing, depending on who you are, because the food halls that are coming to Vegas are great, but I would rather have it be an and versus or type of thing. Like maybe you could have a buffet and a food hall, but I'm noticing a lot of the ex buffets are being replaced by food hall. A prime example is the Aria. They used to have one of the best buffets there, but now it is a food hall now. Personally, for me, I think you get bang for a buck with the buffet and enjoyment, because you guys get unlimited food for one set price. But for a food hall, you gotta pay a little bit here, there. So in the grand scheme of things, I think buffets over food halls. Let me know what you guys think. Also, more things they're skimping out on us or rolling back are, the drink deals, if you guys are drinkers or gamblers, because I was with a friend and he was betting for an OKC Pacers game, and they actually used to give, drink tickets whenever you bet. But for a couple years now, it was $100 minimum. But in this case, he came to the teller. He was expecting a drink ticket for betting, I guess like 100 on OKC or Pacers, I don't remember. But the teller told him, now we have like some type of machine that won't let us give you drink tickets anymore unless you bet $200. So a new thing that I'm just learning is that you have to bet $200 now to get 2 free drinks. So that kind of has to do with, rolling back on deals, food, drink deals as well. So now it's $200 if you guys are drinkers or gamblers for sports. So we're gonna move on to our next point, which is why I think is one of the main reasons why Vegas is empty, specifically this year, is because of the change in traveling policies, the new policies in the United States, which is preventing a lot of international tourism and tourists from visiting Vegas. And a lot of these are anecdotal, word of mouth, and I'm hearing from friends myself. I have a Canadian YouTuber friend or content creator friend. I asked him, hey, when are you gonna come back to Vegas again? Maybe we could get together, make some videos. And he told me that he was uncertain with the visas, the international travel from Canada to US, so not in the near time future. That's just one example. If you guys know the World Series of Poker, my dad plays in it, and as the title suggests, World Series of Poker, it's when poker players from all around the globe congregate to, I think it's held in the Horseshoe right now. They come and they play poker. For the past couple years, I've been going every summer from 2020, and every time I'm there to pick up my dad or visit him, it's like the Tower of Babylon. You hear languages from everywhere. Some Portuguese from Brazil, Japanese, Chinese, Italian, Francois, Spanish, I don't know if I said that, every type of language, because they attract tourists from all walks of life, from different countries. But this year, my dad even said himself, when he was playing in a tournament, there's less people coming from international countries. And guys, like I said, stay tuned. We're gonna give you guys why there are some pros and what you guys can do. Yeah, so this year when I was hanging out in the halls, basically just heard typical old American English. Didn't really see too many international tourists in the World Series of Poker hall, and just around the Strip in general. It's a ghost town in some of the more populated places, because some of these spots I'm showing you guys, I was there during like a Saturday night, a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, prime times from like 8 to 11 p.m. where there'll be a lot of people on the strips, and there were more people on the Strip during that time, but still even less than the average for a high season in the summertime. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think with the new US tariffs, international travel policies, and visa policies, I think it's a little bit harder or more uncertain for international tourists to come and visit. And I think that's one of the main reasons why the Strip is so empty right now, because Vegas is actually an international city. Every year I've been to Vegas, I see people from all types of countries, just walk around hearing the language from Eastern Europe, Mexico, Brazil, Japan, China, all walks of life. But it is a glaring difference this year. All right, and for this next reason, this is just my opinion, and let me know if you guys agree or what you guys feel about it, because there are some pros and cons for this too. I respect everyone's hustle, but I've been noticing there are a lot more solicitors, scams on the Strip, people just bugging tourists from what the eye can see, on the Strip. I mean, that's always been there, but these past couple weeks, months, or even years I've been going to Vegas, I've seen just way more of those solicitors on the streets, street performers. They're on almost every block now. And depending on who you are, like I said, I respect everyone's hustle, but some people are introverts, or some people are coming with their families, very small kids, and I had some family members complain as well. Ooh, Vegas is a little bit different now. Like there's just people, half naked people on the strip, and I don't know how to explain that to my, little toddler or kid. So that's always been there, but I feel like there's just more of an influx of that nowadays. I'm gonna give you guys a little story time. I had a little funny experience with, those people in costumes on the strip. So they have those in New York as well, but I personally think it's somewhat of a scam because they basically kind of pressure you guys to take photos with them, and then they'll hound you to take to pay them. But I caught this one dude. I was live streaming, and I wasn't even recording him. I was recording the Bellagio fountains, and I caught him in the act of harassing these two women walking on the Bellagio fountain area, and they were clearly scared. They didn't want a picture with him. They actually like ran away from him, and he was about to touch them. And I think that's really out of pocket or odd to touch random people on the street or attempt to. So with people going to a strip and noticing this, like I said, some people may be introverts or they don't want to be bothered. And like I said, solicitors have always been on the Vegas Strip, but I feel like there's just an overwhelming amount of them on the past trip I was there. So yeah, that is also another reason. I guess tourist burnouts, bad first impressions. If you guys are international tourists, it's your first time coming to Vegas. So yeah, I guess a shift in vibe. Vibes are something you feel, and I've noticed that too from the past couple years I've been on the strip. There's just a different vibe on the strip nowadays, just more solicitors. All right, I'm excited. So let's get to the next part of this video. Like I said, it's not all doom and gloom, and I always like to find the silver lining in any situation, and I'll tell you my final thoughts and opinions on what I would do at the end. But there's also a good side in all of this. So for you domestic tourists who have an easier time getting to Vegas, say if you're from Arizona, Texas, California, Utah, the surrounding states, they're gonna treat you right there because the hospitality scene in Vegas has always been great, but it's just a vibe. Like I said, something you guys notice. I feel like there's an extra spark with all the staff there, more friendly smiles. They appreciate the tourists. That's what funds the economy in Vegas. So I've just been getting just extra customer service, friendlier staff, more smiles, and small things like that go a long way. So it makes you feel more welcome in Vegas right now from staff. And it's not just superficial. There's actually perks with deals as well. So for you tourists that could get to Vegas, even though there's rising costs, there's actually, well, I noticed more deals now. And talking to my friends and family, even my dad, he's a gambler, and he's been getting more food and beverage deals, comps for rooms. Also my other friends that gamble a little bit as well, they've been telling me they've been getting all these emails like, hey, come to Vegas, you guys get an extra $200 for meals and beverages, deals, weekday deals on rooms. And I've been noticing myself when I'm browsing the MGM or Caesars pages, there's just more weekday deals and weekend deals. So the prices for some of the rooms, you guys can find some gems in the rough for lower prices because they need to fill up these rooms. So they're gonna give you guys some deals. Yeah, I had a friend I was talking to, he was like, hey, I haven't been gambling in Vegas for years, or I don't really go that much, but hey, surprise, I got like a $900 value suite room for Bellagio, and they ended up using it. So a little tip is check your inbox mail spam folders maybe, because you guys might be getting some great deals for Vegas because they're trying to fill up these restaurants, hotels. And speaking of filling up restaurants, another perk or pro is if you guys are foodies like me, which I enjoy going to restaurants, you guys get reservations a lot easier now because there's a lot of restaurants that you used to have to wait a couple of days, or you can't really get reservations too easily on the weekends. For one, like Bavette's, they're usually full, but I got a reservation at 9 p.m. on my last trip, which I dropped that video, so check that out if you guys haven't. Fancy restaurants, steakhouses, you'll be able to get some reservations more easily. And for this next one, for you party goers, especially the dudes out there, you guys are not only able to get reservations at restaurants easier, but getting into the clubs a little bit easier. So during the prime time of Vegas, depending on how much info you guys know how the Vegas scene works, they basically try to fill up these clubs with females. It's nothing new to them. There'll be employees on the strip or in the lobby of hotels handing out tickets to groups, preferably females, to get into clubs. Whenever there's a lower season or a lower day, it would be like a weekday, maybe like a Thursday, Wednesday, or something like that. On the weekends, the clubs generally fill up on their own because people need to buy tickets and people want to see the best DJs on the strip. But I noticed I was walking around on the Strip in the Flamingo, and this man came up to me and handed me, you know, a free 2 tickets, however many tickets I wanted to Omnia, which was like a primetime club. I didn't end up going, but I was, you know, interested to see if this was a real deal or not. So I grabbed a ticket and I got 2 free tickets to the club. To me, it's funner to, you know, do other things in Vegas rather than club, like going to the restaurants and all that. But that's also an interesting experience I'm noticing in Vegas recently, which is it's a lot easier to get accessibility to, you know, some of the clubs, bars, lounges in Vegas, especially for you guys out there. It's a little bit harder for guys to get free entry, let alone any entry into a club. Vegas is empty and they're trying to fill up not just the restaurants, hotels, but the clubs. So for you party goers, this might be a great time if you guys cannot get into the club. What's that line by Chris Brown? Why are you hating on that side of the club? You can't even get in. So if you guys are one of those dudes who can't get into the club, you guys might be able to get into the club this time around. And with that being said, I was chopping up with the guy who was giving me the free tickets as well. I was just wondering why he's doing this, how often he was doing it, and he was telling me that, yeah, always call ahead for a guest list and free tickets. This is just another tip, which is because Vegas is empty right now, if you guys, you know, make that effort, call the club, you guys might be able to get, you know, free entry regardless. So yeah, a tip and trick as well, another pro. As for me, a domestic tourist, I am for sure going to be taking advantage of these deals and visiting Vegas, because for me, I don't really care about, you know, having Vegas be too packed anyways. I know some people love that because they want, you know, a lot of people to be in the clubs, they want the crowds, the parties. But for me, I generally go to Vegas to enjoy myself, the hotels, relax, sit by the pool, go to restaurants. So for me, I think that's a pro, that Vegas is maybe a little bit more empty right now. It might be not such a great thing for the CEOs and the Vegas executives out there, but the pro is if you guys can get to Vegas, you guys will be treated a little bit nicer, and you guys will find some great deals on the Strip, like I said, from the rooms to the clubs to getting in free for restaurants, food and beverage credits, you know, free play credits. Some of my friends who have players cards, they've been telling me, hey, let's go to Vegas. I've been getting extra deals. If you guys are not members, you guys can still get rewards and deals from hotels just by, you know, going on the website, because I just saw one that was marketed to me, of course, the algorithm, which was for a Cosmo deal. You guys get a $150 food and credit deal if you guys book 2 or 3 days or more. So that's like a hard deal that you guys can, you know, use right now as this video is dropping. Not sponsored, by the way. I just saw that on my Instagram feed. So good news, you're going to be seeing me in Vegas a lot more frequently, because I think overall, if you are a domestic tourist, it's going to be a little bit easier for you guys to find deals, and maybe even cheaper in some parts. Overall, I do think the cheap eats deals are shrinking, but make sure you guys subscribe to DanVsWorld and stay tuned for our next cheap eats videos, because we're going to give you guys some full updates, just like this video. We're updating you why the Vegas Strip is so empty, and give you guys the new cheap eats deals, because for example, like Ellis Island, this is just one of many. They changed their hours, so instead of having it on the weekends, they have it just on the weekdays. Overall, I would say that they are scaling back on the cheap eats deals, because they used to have on the weekends and they don't anymore. But yeah, final thoughts is if Vegas is, you know, dead or empty or not. Yes, as you guys can see from these clips and from what I've been experiencing, it is high season right now in Vegas in the summertime, and I'm seeing way less people in the more populated areas like the Bellagio Fountains, you know, the Link area, you know, at the Park MGM area, where every year I've been going, even in the low season, these areas are, you know, packed shoulder to shoulder, but there's just way less people here. On the weekends, it did pick up, and you could tell, you know, the people going to the clubs because they're dressed a certain way. So I don't think the nightlife is fully dead, but if you guys are going on a weekday for a nightlife, it might be less people, but on the weekends, the nightlife is still there. So yeah, definitely Vegas is changing just a bit, but depending who you are, you might love it, you might hate it, in between, but it is what it is. So I'll try to find the silver lining, and I still love Vegas. I still love, you know, the food there, the hospitality there, the rooms there, just the whole vibe and experience there. The vibe is shifting a little bit, less crowds and, you know, better deals from the hotels. So to wrap it up, would I still visit? Yes. But would you still visit? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to get to know your thoughts and opinions on this. And at the end of the day, like I said, these are just my opinions, observations, anecdotal studies from, you know, friends, families, staff, people I've talked to. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this shift in 2025. As always, hope you guys like this video. If you guys like it, like this video, comment down below your thoughts, click somewhere over here for more tips and tricks on Vegas and more Vegas food and travel videos, and subscribe and hit that bell for more Dan vs. World adventures. Deuces, see you guys in the next one. Boom.